What's going on, guys? This is Eric here, and we are here for the Pokemon Go Ferocious Cup, hosted by the Michigan League of Pokemon Battlers at Lansing Community College. This is our first tournament of the season, so, let's see how this goes. Alright, so very first game of the tournament, we are playing up against Skeetus. I wasn't really sure who he was coming into the tournament, but he told me he's been to a few of these, so I wasn't sure what to expect. I should let you know that on the bottom right, you can view my roster of Pokemon. On the bottom left, you can view his roster of Pokemon. He does have a few oddball picks, I'd say, mainly the Raikou and the Alolan Marowak, but they're not totally off meta either. I should also mention that while I do have an Umbreon on my team, I'm just going to let you know that you guys aren't going to see this Umbreon in battle at any point throughout any of my battles, because it's actually a bait Pokemon that I put in. Quite tricky of me, I know. For Umbreon to truly be meta viable, you need Last Resort, which I do not have. So just looking into the match right here, we're facing up with Raichu and Alolan Ninetales. I believe he takes me here in a very close match. Yeah, he literally just had a sliver of health here. I end up losing. It's pretty close. So I end up switching up my library a little bit. I end up leading with Raichu, just because, it was sort of then that I realized that Brick Break charges extremely fast. It probably is one of the quickest charge up times, but he has his Lanoon also has a really quick charge move as well. What I should mention though is that his Brick Break is not super effective on my Raichu, but my Brick Break is super effective against his Lanoon, which I think was a pretty good play that allowed me to stay a little bit more competitively viable than he was. He switches to Raikou, and then I bust into Alolan Ninetales just because I know it has a considerable amount of bulk. So while a charge is close, but not close enough, I bring out Psyshock, bust open the Vaporeon, and that's the end of game 2, actually. So yeah, the games are going pretty quick. I had a feeling that he was going to bust out his Lanoon at the start again, so I used Raichu. And like I said, I think Raichu has a pretty definitive edge in terms of that lineup. And Water does beat out Poison, so I switched to my Vaporeon. Vaporeon and Bibarel, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, I'm not the most educated Gen 4 guy, are one of the best counters against Nidoqueen and Skuntank. Here he brings out his Lanoon again, but Aqua Tail, is a really fast move. So I think I'm able to get off, another Aqua Tail before I die. Or I guess I don't even use it here. The rest of the clip cuts a little bit here, but we end up edging out Skeetus with our Ninetales. Alright, we just finished up game 1 of 6 against Skeetus, and I wasn't really sure what to expect there, so he actually ended up taking round 1 from me. It was super narrow, but then I started changing up my meta a little bit. I started focusing more on water-type Pokemon, as I heard that was, I just realized that would be pretty effective, and of course Raichu edged out in terms of Brick Break against his Furret, which I feel like was really a key play, so big shout-outs to my Vaporeon and my Furret. I feel like they really carried games 2 and 3 for me, so that's all, guys. Tune in for game 2. Alright, in game 2, this is actually a game against a pretty good friend of mine, Kayvon. He's pretty well known in the Pokemon Go PvP community in Michigan as well. As far as I'm concerned, for sure, he's a really solid opponent here. So this started game 1. I'm using Vaporeon against his Nidoqueen. Seems to edge out there. Bibarel does have some of its own advantages over Vaporeon, but in my opinion, they're at least pretty interchangeable, at least as far as the Ferocious Cup is concerned. Here I bring out a Wild Charge, thinking that he wouldn't shield it for whatever reason, but he's a little smarter than that. and so he ends up shielding it, and he ends up losing. I end up losing round 1 to Kayvon. It's pretty close, but not too bad. Here we both bring out our Ninetales with pretty much identical setups, except I believe his Ninetales had 1 more CP than I did. This is something that Kayvon actually told me after the game he thought was a little bit of a mistake, was he used his Lanoon. When he didn't know that I didn't have Last Resort on my Umbreon at the time, but I had a pretty strong Dark team already, so he thought it was kind of a mistake to bring out the Lanoon, which I do kind of agree with. Here my Vaporeon, as you'd imagine, edges out the Skuntank, and then Raticate is able to trump Lanoon, especially when we brought out the Hyper Fang. But I think it still would have won, even if we brought out a Crunch for the charge move. Here he uses Umbreon, which is a really solid option. He switches into Skuntank, and my mindset right here is I just have to keep that Ninetales alive, because currently my only option to beat Ninetales to beat Umbreon is with Ninetales. Vaporeon can stand toe-to-toe with it to some degree, but it's not great. It already did wear down some damage from my Ninetales, so I am able to hang in there to some degree. I'm able to bring out a charge move there as well. And here my Raichu really goes off. What is nice as well, Brick Break comes out super fast, and Brick Break is also super effective against Umbreon, which again was really great. And that actually ends the match with Kayvon. Next up we got TJ Vanpool, who I've seen win many tournaments. Same with Kayvon here, so definitely someone that I was pretty intimidated by. He had a really good grasp on the meta. He had his kids here too who were in the tournament as well, which is pretty serious. So I'm just trying to play to my strengths from what I've been doing in the past. I do have a history of losing the game once though, but I'm really just trying to play the best I can here. I think I'm doing pretty well bringing out the Raichus with the Brick Breaks, but and I do get off a 3rd Brick Break despite my health being super low. Ninetales knocks him out here, and it's super close. He gets into Aqua Tail. I use the Side Shock. He has the shield though, and that's gonna cost me round 1. But I mean, that was super close against TJ Vanpool. That was quite frankly better than I expected to perform. And here I'm bringing out my Dark to fight against his Poison here. I started out with an advantage with the first Pokemon, but maybe I should have blocked that Sludge Bomb, I'm not sure. But we do at least appear to have a slight lead going on here. Me not blocking, I feel like, was a little bit of a mistake there, just because Raichu would have been a pretty key leader here, and now I'm kind of down on my Pokemon, so I'm just trying to keep Ninetales alive here. But he ends up sneaking the Last Resort, which I wasn't really expecting, and this, it wasn't necessarily a mistake, because he was going to shield it anyways. But yep, so I end up losing 0-2 to TJ Vanpool, but still good matches overall. Next up, we got Honor. Here I'm using Raichu at the start. He's using a Alolan Ninetales. This is not a matchup at the time that I was super familiar with, and really the only mon that I had that would really go well against it would be an Alolan Ninetales of my own. So I think this was also, yeah, so I used the Side Shock against him, and there's a little bit of lag there too throughout, but and he gets off a charge move on his last bit of health. You never like to see those, but they do happen, unfortunately. And of course, Umbreon is sort of the king of this cup here, so my half health Vaporeon with 0 shields is not going to stand up to his Umbreon with Last Resort. Alright, now we're on round 2 against Honor. I start out with Skuntank, not the best because he starts out with water, then he brings out his Umbreon, which is a pretty good pick as well. As you guys can see, my Raichu is just in a stranded animation, so we ended up restarting that match completely. You hate to see it, but sometimes that just sort of happens with Pokemon Go. So as a result of that, in the case of that, you actually battle again with the exact same team and the exact same load up that you used prior, just so there's no means of rigging it, I suppose. But yeah, so I don't know, maybe I would have done better the first time around, but had the lag issue not happen. But you know, that's just where we are right now. Ninetales is doing pretty well. This is, in my opinion, one of the biggest mistakes that I could have made. I should have used the Ice Beam instead of Psyshock so many times, as that would have been a significantly more powerful move against his Umbreon, and I think that cost me the entire game. I definitely would have been able to make it to Game 3 with him. Next up we have Max Vanpool, who's actually related to the TJ Vanpool. And you know, first round, you know, he's a little bit of a youngster, but as you can see, I would definitely say I underestimated him Game 1 for sure. As you can see, like, he's got all the right counters for my mons. Like, you know, like my Raichu, like Nidoqueen just walls Raichu. There's no other way of putting it. So that was just unfortunate. And then I have Ninetales against his Nidoqueen, which also gets absolutely walled. But you know, we're on Game 2 now, and I'm a little bit smarter now. I go back to Vaporeon, because I knew he was going to be bringing out that strong Nidoqueen hitter. So, and at that point, I made him use both his shields, and it's Vaporeon versus Umbreon, which again isn't really the worst matchup to be in. But now I have my Ninetales, who is definitely one of the most strong figures I have, and we're able to get off a charge move before Ninetales goes out. And at this point, we have two Pokemon that are both pretty good at fighting Umbreon. Most importantly, Raichu, who gets that fast Brick Break off really nicely. So that cements Game 2. Game 3 is probably the craziest round I've had in a Pokemon Go tournament, to be honest with you guys. So as you guys can see here, we're sort of trading blows. Vaporeon and Ninetales, none are exactly perfect counters for each other. I switch into Raichu, get rid of his Ninetales. He brings in Grunble, so, which I wasn't expecting at all, by the way. So that's pretty much like two fairy types in one match for him. And last up is Ninetales versus Nidoqueen, and he has it here, but in the type advantage, but we actually tie it. It's a perfect tie, so we end up pushing to a Game 4, because that's what you do in the case of a tie. You just rematch it. So again, I'm pretty nervous at this point. You know, it's Game 4 against Max Vanpool. I'm thinking I'm playing a little bit smarter at this point, just trying to drain through his shields. The Alolan Sand did catch me off guard. Max Stuffing did a really good job with his mix-up game, but you know, I'm still trying to stay on top of my game as well here. So you know, we got the Aqua Tails busting out left and right. I do gotta say, Aqua Tail is a really key play to have for Vaporeon here. It just comes out really fast, not quite as fast as the Raichu Brick Break, but it was probably one of the faster ones I've had.
Alright, so after two consecutive losses, we just got back in against Max Vanpool. He won the first game pretty handily. Second game, I managed to edge out. Third game, we tied, which is absolutely crazy. I don't think I've ever had that happen before. And the third game, I really tried to get his meta kind of understanding, a lot of prediction. I feel like a lot of rock, paper, scissors. So our current record is 3-2.
Alright, here we are with our sixth and final game against FIFA Justice. He's not someone that I've really encountered in the club before, but you know, definitely a pretty good opponent by all means. So he starts out with Skunk Tank. I bring in Ninetales. He does have some pretty interesting options as well. Heatmore, Not only was I pretty surprised by his heat more, but a lot of people at the club were as well. So I wasn't expecting that, but I had a pretty reliable Vaporeon that really was, made the whole heat more situation not too big of a deal. And here I had to switch things up on him a little bit because Raticate was able to dispatch heat more with the Hyper Fang. Here he does make a little bit of an error here. He brings out heat more at the very start when I bring out Vaporeon. Here he uses Pachirisu as well, which, as you will notice, has a very low CP cap. His is only 1144, but what's quite interesting is despite its low CP cap, it is still considerably tankier than, I believe, around 1500 CP Minun or Raichu. So definitely quite the oddball pick, but if it works, it works, So his Pachirisu is actually managing to get in quite a lot of work done. And he brings out heat more against my Vaporeon. It's pretty good, but unfortunately for him, Vaporeon is a very excellent option against Skuntank and Heatmore, which is really the key figure that I used to win the last games I had against FIFA Justice.
Alright, big congratulations to Kaite2, also known as Tetsuya, for winning the Ferocious Cup quarterly. Tell us about how you got that huge dub.
Firstly, I decided Umbreon around 90.
Okay.
Skuntank and Vaporeon. So I quickly decided these 4 members because basically they can win any of the Pokemon.
Right.
And after that, I don't like the icy type Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I put the regular Ninetales, and then I put the Linu for the water type.
Okay, interesting. That's the first time I've heard of regular Ninetales, but again, congratulations, Tetsuya. It's been a pleasure. Yeah,
Thank you very
congratulations
much.
again.
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot.
Alrighty, guys. So we just finished up our very first tournament of the season, the Ferocious Cup quarterly. It was an absolute blast. Overall record was 4-2, which is probably the best showing I've ever had in a Pokemon Go tournament. Which was absolutely, I'm blown away by my performance. So I'm feeling really good about myself. We'll see if they have similar showings at future tournaments. Definitely shout out to everyone in the Lansing Pokemon Go community for throwing this together. It was a blast, and thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys later.